Okay, example 1. There were 26 nickels, dimes, and quarters in all. So we've done coin problems already. We understand, I think, that there's number variables, there's value variables. That's going to stay consistent with these problems. But now, instead of nickels and dimes, or dimes and pennies, or quarters and nickels, now we're going to have 3 types of coins. This time nickels, dimes, and quarters is happening. So the first thing is to set up things like we usually do, which is we have nickels, dimes, quarters. And then we want number variables and we want value variables, and we want to make sure we make a mental note of the type of value we're going to deal with. With coins, we usually go with cents for value of coins. So if I say there are n nickels and d dimes and q quarters, that's the same type of scenario we set up before. Right? Every nickel is worth 5 cents times n of them makes 5n for the value of the nickels. Every dime is worth 10 cents times d dimes makes 10d cents for the value of the dimes. Every quarter is worth 25 cents times q of them is 25q for the value of the quarters. So the setup of everything is the same as it was. It's just instead of having 2 things here, we have 3 things here. All right. If there were half dollars, H and 50H. Silver dollars, maybe S and 100S. $1 bills and $5 bills. Then you'd probably put maybe D for dollar, F for $5, T for $10. And these will all be values in dollars instead of cents. So they might do that kind of thing too. All right. Next, once we've got our setup of types of variables, number variables, and value variables, we need to start looking at the information given in order to create equations using the proper variables for each scenario. So, the first statement, it says their value was $2.25. Clue, it says value. So we're going to use the value variables, okay? But $2.25 is in dollars, not cents, so we're going to make sure we convert that. So I know the value of the nickels, 5n, plus the value of the dimes, 10d, plus the value of the quarters, 25q, is equal to the value of the coins in cents, which is 225 cents. As before with these problems, the value equation usually is divisible by at least 5, and if you do that, it makes the problem easier to do. For me personally, I'm probably doing all this stuff on a scratch sheet of paper to create this nice system of equations we're going to make over here on our actual problem. So, now to divide everything by 5, I'm going to get 1n plus 2d plus 5q is equal to 45. Make sure if you do divide by 5, everything divides by 5, including the 225. Next. How many coins of each type were there if there were 10 times as many nickels as quarters? All right. Times as many messes people up a lot. All right, so let's, before we actually write the equation, let's think this through. If there's 10 times as many nickels as quarters, what is there more of? There's more nickels, right? We can all read that very clearly and see there's more nickels than quarters. So, I know that if I put n equals d, that's a false statement. Or sorry, n equals q, that's a false statement. All right, what's bigger? N. All right? We need to multiply one of these numbers by 10. I can either take the big number times 10 to make the small number, or the small number times 10 to make the big number. Which one makes more sense? Small. Small. Okay. When you see times as many, be very careful because 10 times nickels equals quarters is what I get a lot of times. If people aren't thinking through the process, they just write down stuff. All right, so 10 times as many nickels as quarters, more nickels, less quarters, smaller number times 10 makes bigger number, makes sense. So n equals 10q. There's 2 equations. How many do we need? We need 3 equations, right? So what's our third equation going to be?
26 nickels, dimes, and quarters.
There were 26 nickels, dimes, and quarters in all. So we know exactly how many coins there are altogether. And again, that involves the number of coins, not the value of the coin. So nickels plus dimes plus quarters is equal to 26. So again, maybe this stuff's on a scratch sheet of paper to create this nice system of equations on our actual paper. So I'm going to erase this. I'm going to slide all this stuff over here, and that's where we started. All right? So now that we got all this set up, and again, when I was making these equations, each time I'm worried about what type of variables to use. 10 times as many nickels as quarters, that's how many coins, not how much they're worth. 26 coins, that's how many coins, not how much they're worth. So if I'm dealing with how many coins, it's going to be these variables. If I'm worried about how much they're worth, it's going to be these variables. So the easiest way to do this, in my opinion, using the green equation, I can substitute a 10q for that n. I can substitute a 10q for that n. That'll create a dq equation, a system of equations. All right. I can substitute it in, then simplify, or I can simplify as I go. So we just take a look at this whole equation here. 2d is just going to stay 2d, right? I've got 5q that I'm going to add to n, which is 10q, which makes a total of plus 15q. And that equals 45. Next, I know that n plus d plus q is equal to 26. d stays d. I'm replacing n with 10q. 10q plus 1q makes 11q. And that is equal to 26. So I go from a system of 3 equations with 3 variables through substitution. I drop myself down into a 2 equations with 2 variables system. Easiest way, in my opinion, to solve this is to multiply the bottom equation by negative 2. 2d minus 2d will cancel. 2d minus 2d cancels. 15q minus 22q makes negative 7q. 45 minus 52 is negative 7. We divide, we get q is equal to 1. So we have 1/4. Alright, if I go back up to either one of the 2 equations, I'm going to go to this top equation here. It says 2d, that we don't know yet, plus 15 times q, which is 1, so plus 15 is equal to 45. That means 2d is equal to 30. Move the 15 over and subtract. Divide by 2, we get d is equal to 15. So we have 1/4, 15 dimes. And if I'm nickels, I can go right here if I want to. N equals 10 times q. N equals 10 times q, which is 1, so n is equal to 10. So we have 1/4, 10 nickels, and 15 dimes. If you want to make sure they're right, it's real simple. You know how much money is supposed to be, you know how many coins are supposed to be, you know the relationship between nickels and quarters. You can verify all that stuff if you want to. 1 plus 10 is 11, plus 15 is 26 coins, correct amount of coins. It's supposed to be 10 times as many nickels as quarters. 10 is 10 times as many as 1. That works. 1/4 is worth 25 cents. 10 nickels is worth 50 cents. 15 dimes is worth $1.50. $2.25, correct amount of money. Everything works out with those 3 numbers, so that's the way